So before we start, we're going to do something kind of special here. So I need the youth group to, where'd they go? Hey, they need to listen to my talk. Making lunch. The practitioners, then can you come forward? And a couple more people. I need you to grab these bears and get everybody a bear to hold during the talk. So you guys want to do it too? Pass out the bears. And Nina, can you help? Just grab a handful and make sure everybody's got a bear to hold on to. And if you're back there and you're going, oh, I know which one I want, come up and grab it. See, I've got mine. This little guy's been with me in the yoga. He's my buddy, and I'm going to miss him. Yeah. And this one over here's got a little bit of an attitude, so we're going to leave him alone. He's staged himself. Everybody got one to love? Thank you, Nina. Oh, there he goes. Bye-bye. Every last one. Everybody. Yeah, the cow. Nobody can take this one? Well, it's mine. Everybody's got somebody to love. Doesn't that feel good, though? Doesn't it feel good? You know, I don't know if I can. I think he's too big. I got my monkey. Thank you. You keep holding him so everybody has love. Oh, I miss them already. They have been with me. I teach yoga, and they're behind me, and I just feel like they're encouraging me. Go ahead, Sue. Tell them this. And tell them this for me. Tell them this from the cow and the puppy. And then there's a coyote here today. So, yeah. And there's a frog. Yes, and that frog, hold that up again, Mike. That has my expression that when I drive around in the car, it's like, and I always think when somebody goes, hey, I saw you driving, I think, oh, and then I think I had that face. But I swear, when they were doing this in yoga the other day, that guy was smiling at the end. I'm pretty sure. So thank you. You're going to hold on to these and love them, and then we'll return them to the stage because they go out to the community after today. So the love that you infuse this bear with, I want you to remember, part of my talk is about your character and remembering who you were, the innocence of who you were when you were born, that innocence. And how many times did you find refuge in your toys, in your moments of not understanding what was going on, but you found your favorite toy, and it spoke to your heart, and it understood you. So what we're doing now is infusing these lovely gifts from you out into the community, to the children that have been afraid, alone, frightened, not feeling well. And you take your feelings, your gift of nurturing them, holding them, just feeling that they're not alone, and they can feel that. I was sharing with somebody, there is this quickening, this moment of absolute love, that when the officer brings this in to the child, they're going to go, oh, and they're going to remember who they are, and they're going to remember God. It could be like that, but that moment in their heart is from your heart to theirs. So that's what you're doing, and it feels good, doesn't it? You have to give them back. So thank you for being a part of that, and I thank Mary, Reverend Mary, helped us create this. So it's really been a privilege. So he's pretty limber. But he might, I'll feel bad if he falls into that fire. So back to the talk here. We're going to talk a little bit about the message is your character. What is your character? A life of character. And I want to remind ourselves that this month is ending up. The whole series throughout this year has been living our values. And so this value that we're focusing on this month is integrity. And integrity is a huge umbrella. But it really, we recognize when we're living in integrity, with our own integrity, that our life feels like it's going beautifully well. So think about, this is from the Science of Mind platform. We embrace the quality of being honest and strive to let our inner convictions match our outer actions. We express wholeness, honesty, and fairness in our relationships and our activities. So that's integrity, and your character rises out of this knowing of integrity and living your truth. Damien read the expressions of Ernest Holmes, so powerful, so beautiful, and I want to continue to have you refer back to that idea and think about your life, your character. So this, we're embracing this quality of being honest and striving to make ourselves walk our talk, to allow the steps that we make be one of truth and sincerity in everything that we do, walking your truth. And oftentimes we have to remember the ideas around character, like, oh, he has character flaws. Oh, do tell, what is his character flaw? And we know our own character flaws, and oftentimes we point the fingers at others' character flaws because they're a mirror for us to reflect more deeply on just what are we doing. And I know for myself personally, I hold spiritual teachers up to a very high standard. And I appreciate a dialogue with Peggy the other day, because she was saying all teachers are human, though. And we have to keep that area of our heart open in a space of forgiveness for when they falter or when they don't exactly live up to the truth that we know they have spoken before. But if we see that going on and on, I tend to not put as much, my life isn't as influenced by that teacher or that teaching. So I'm pretty, truth and integrity of a teaching is really something I value very much. And we ask that the practitioners and the ministers here and the board be in integrity, be impeccable with what they are choosing to share within this center, and to be all that they can be and allow those divine qualities to be made manifest. But as I said, sometimes our teaching, we can get caught in a place of arrogance or feeling a little bit more self-important, right? Especially in ministry, you can feel like you're pretty important, but we're just human. But I was reading this story that I found in this Stories of the Heart that is in particular alliance with this, what I'm trying to share here. So often this can happen. A young man who had just completed his spiritual training was eagerly intent on becoming a teacher, and then he moved to a new town. He tried to teach, but no one came. The only spiritual interest in the town were the many followers of a wise and well-known rabbi. Frustrated, the young teacher devised a plan to embarrass the old master and gain students for himself. He captured a small bird and one day went to where the master was seated, surrounded by all his disciples. Holding the small bird in his hand, he spoke directly to the master. "If you are so wise, tell me, is this bird in my hand alive or is it dead?" Well, his plan was this. If the master said the bird was dead, he would open his hand and the bird would fly away. The master would be wrong, and the students would come to him. If the master said the bird was alive, he would quickly crush the bird in his hand and open it and say, "See, but the bird is dead." Again, the master would be wrong, and the young teacher would gain students. He couldn't go wrong. Great plan. He sat poised in front of the master, demanding an answer. Tell me, if you are so wise, is this bird alive or is it dead? The master looked back at him with great compassion, answered quite simply, really, my friend, it's up to you. The choice, really, it's up to us. How we let our character shine and who we choose to be influenced by in that knowing. It's up to you. You were born innocent. You were born perfect. And so as you have developed and been influenced by your family and your teaching and your religious doctrines that were fed your way, you were influenced, and it helped to build your character of who you are. But with character comes sometimes a false sense of self, and I'm going to point to that a little bit because in this invitation of this talk is the invitation for you to practice some self-forgiveness, to turn some compassion towards yourself for the times that you did not live up to your true nature, to where you knew that you took on another persona just to try to be liked or to be included. The youth speaking, that was such an area, wasn't in high school, trying to be included, to be liked, and sometimes we sold our soul. I reflected on it as I was doing this talk. I remember the transition from my friends from junior high into high school. There was the popular group, and then there was I don't know what else they were. They were good people, but they weren't as popular. And just that bridging of friendships and your choices that you made in those times. And sometimes I think I wasn't very skillful in that. So we all have these moments of reflecting back of who we were and how honest we were. But as we reflect back and as we practice some self-forgiveness and some compassion, we find a place of deep acceptance. And when we find that acceptance, our character becomes stronger. Our true spiritual character becomes stronger. We start to live with the truths that we can understand and we can express as absolute in harmony with our wholeness of being. So as I speak, I want to remind you to question yourself. What do I embody? What am I contributing to my world? How am I touching others? Am I being true? Am I living and speaking and acting and loving from a place of wisdom and truth and authenticity? Or am I a big fake? Ask yourself. And when you rub up against something that kind of makes you squirm, forgive yourself and go to the deep spiritual truths that you know will feed the character of your being. Character is a word that has kind of a broad stroke of meanings, and basically it is the strength and originality in a person's nature. It could be your reputation. It could be you are an interesting and amusing individual, or as I recognized it for myself when my mom said, "You're such a character," oddball. I was quite different from the rest of the family. Everything I did was completely different from them. But I lived that truth, and she accepted that. She was a good mother for that reason, letting me be exactly who I needed to be in this world. So looking at the influences that you've had has depended upon the world that you grew up in and what genuine characteristics grew out of that. The key influence that you live in your life is one that you demonstrate by your example. Are you willing to really look and hold another person's eyes as you speak to them? Are you willing to really speak truth and not just try to get something from the moment? Are you interacting effectively with all the people around them? Are you understanding and taking the time to listen and to be heard? Because your character, whether you know it or not, is constantly radiating. It's constantly communicating. You could think that you're hiding, that maybe somebody won't know. that you've said something and you're really not living up to it. But you know it always gets exposed. The truth is always revealed. So you can kind of go, ooh, really? Yeah. You don't need to go gossip about it about somebody else. The truth is always revealed through your character. And you want to allow that sense of knowing yourself to come from a place that you can really trust, to you know that this is the truth about who you are. So there's this statement, if your private performance doesn't jive with your public performance, there's no trust, there's no opening up. No one is going to feel safe around you, and they will not expose themselves to you or your opinions. No matter how much we want relationship or love or to be influenced, this vulnerability of showing your true self is what you need to do, sharing that deep truth. And unless we can open up to one another and understand each other and our feelings and our stories, we can't really help anyone or advise anyone. Words you say, acting as if you care but you really don't, that can be felt by another human being. Words need to be trusted, and if it's not felt in the heart of the other, if there's too much fear, too much playing on the person's personality, you won't receive the help, and you can't give help from that place. So continue to examine your true character. Learn the ways to inspire this trust and this openness between two hearts. And the wisdom that I share with you comes from Stephen Covey, but also Richard Rohr. Because Richard Rohr, in his beautiful book, The Immortal Diamond, he speaks very directly about the false self and the true self. So when I speak to you about when we make that split, so you've created an idea, a personality self, that you find kind of got you your way in the world a little bit, created some success. These things aren't bad, but do they align with your true self? So the false self is what happens when we split our shadow self and pretend. We're just pretending to be this idealized self. We split our mind from our body and soul, and then we just start to operate from our mind, not our heart. We start operating from a place of where we think people want to hear us from, and we're not living that true nature. We split life from death and try to live our life without any death. We split ourselves from our other selves and try to live apart, superior, separate. That's living in the false self. But the true self, the absolute true self, I will speak to in a moment, because that is an area where you can feel that you are aligned with Spirit, and you can feel the sense of God's self holding you. And Stephen Covey, in his words, he shares the prospect of looking at the kind of different personality pieces that you developed in yourself. And he shares that he was doing this great work. Stephen Covey is the one that wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Do you remember that book? It was out many years ago, but its truths still resonate today. And if you want to go back and revisit that book, his wisdom is very powerful. And he's talking about personality and these character traits. And he said the character ethic is what we might call, he's talking, when we call, it's part of our success, what we call the personality ethic. Success comes more from a function of personality. We're using the strengths of our character and basing our personality on some of these things and finding great success. But there's other parts that can influence that, and they can become manipulative. So watch that piece of what we do and say in our nature that has become such a habit of manipulating one another. This personality ethic that he recognized, it demonstrated in his family. And he began to realize it was the subconscious source of the solutions that he and his wife were attempting to use on their son. As I thought more deeply about the difference between the personality and character ethics, I studied I realized that Sandra and I had been getting social mileage out of our children's good behavior. So they were marketing that, and in our eyes, their son, though, was not simply measuring up. Our image, they recognized the image of themselves was being influenced. They wanted to be looked at as good and caring parents, and they got wrapped up in that. They got wrapped up in the way we were being seen, and they were handling their problems without their son's welfare at the base of their heart. And when they talked about it together, they became painfully aware of the powerful influence of our own character and motives and the perception of their child. We knew the social comparison motives were out of harmony with our deeper values and would lead to conditional love. We don't want conditional love. Unconditional love, where we love freely. And so they determined to focus their efforts not on any kind of technique, but on a deeper motive, a deeper perception of the child, of the person. Deeper into that place, instead of trying to change him, they stood apart to separate us from him and to sense who that individual's identity was. What was their separateness? What was their worth? What a wonderful opportunity that is to wake up to knowing when you're in the manipulative part of your character, to use some of these God-given qualities to shift their beauty into a way of just trying to get what you want. And that's not the true character that we want to live. So the song of the true self, going back to Richard Rohr, within us, within each and every one of you, there is a natural dignity, an inherent worthiness that already knows and enjoys. We see that in the blessed children. So it is an immortal diamond waiting to be mined and is never discovered undesired. It is a reverence humming within you that must be honored. Call it the soul, the unconscious, the deep consciousness, or the indwelling Holy Spirit. Call it nothing. It does not need the right name or the right religion to show itself. I'm speaking of that natural, deep, divine character that dwells within you as you. You've lived a life and you've lived it well, and you've made some choices and you've done it your way. But he goes on to say, it does not even need to be understood. It's usually wordless. It just is, and shows itself best when we are silent, or when we're in love, or both. He calls it the true self, the true self. It is the God in all things. It is enjoyed only when each part is in union with all other parts, because only then does it stand in the full truth. I love this wisdom of Richard Rohr. It's so unifying in its field. Once in a while, this true self becomes so radiant and highly visible in one lovely place or person. Superbly so, and for all to see in the body of the risen Christ. That is the deep knowing of the Christ radiating through you, through that heart space, this true self, this divine self. And note that I did not say body, he says. It begins here and now in this embodied state in this world. Thus the Christ mystery travels the roads of time. Once you have encountered this true self, and once is more than enough, the false self will begin to fall away on its own. This will make most of your life, however, just as it did. This will take most of your life, however, just as it did for Jesus. Is it an easy path? No, it's a holy path. And it's one that you come here to walk together. I'm going to invite David to share a song that'll be familiar to you. But recognize your choice. I started this message to you about your choices that you're making to build your character and to line with your true nature. So enjoy this beautiful voice of David.
And now The end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I stated clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew, and through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me, I did it my way. For what is a man, what has he got, if not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way. Thank you.
So, yes, it's your way. And when you settle into the silence and the stillness of your own soul, you'll remember that all your choices, all the ways you choose to explore deeply into the heart space, and you find your true self, and you do it your way, you will live a life well lived. in that sense of beautiful song, David, the voice just carrying to our heart space that truth. So I'm going to close with Judy playing the piano and this thought for you to reflect upon as well. Think of your character. Think about the innate qualities of the divine that dwell within you as you, the many faces, the many ways that you have performed your life. But now we have an opportunity to be who we are really meant to be. And this minister, Haimin Sunan, a Zen master, speaks of it as your original face. When you are so busy that you feel perpetually chased, worrying thoughts are circling through your head, the future seems dark and uncertain, you were hurt by what someone had said, slow down. Even if only for a moment, bring all your awareness to the present. Take a deep breath. What do you hear? What do you hear? What does your body feel? What does the sky look like? Only when we slow down can we finally clearly see our relationships, our thoughts, and our pain. As we slow down, we're no longer tangled in them. We step out and appreciate them for what they are. The faces of our family and colleagues always help. The scenery that we pass every day but fail to notice, our friends' stories that we fail to pay attention to. To the stillness of the pause, the entirety of our being is quietly revealed. Wisdom is not something we have to strive to acquire. Rather, it rises naturally as we slow down. Notice what is already there. And as we notice more and more in the present moment, we come to a deeper realization that a silent observer is within us. In the primordial stillness, the silent observer, witnessing everything from inside and out. Befriend this silent observer. Find out where it is, what shape it is. Do not try to imagine it as something that you already know. Let all your thoughts and images merge back into the silence and just sense that this observer is already there in silence. And as you see the face of the silent observer, then you have found your original face from before you were born. The true self. That true self. That character. That the moment you were born, that purity, that all eyes looked down upon you and embraced you and loved you. That truth, that true face, that true character lives within you as you. This is the truth. I am grateful that we are here to know the truth and to walk our talk and live that truth and let that holy face be the one others can trust. Let it be so, and so it is. Thank you.